Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Muiz expresses profound sorrow over the tragic loss of lives and the extensive devastation caused by recent flash floods and heavy rains in Pakistan. President Dr. Muiz ratifies the First Amendment to the Attorney General's Office Act. And Maldives, in unity with a coalition of Arab and Muslim nations, condemned statements made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding his vision for a greater Israel. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Idham Naeem. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz expresses profound sorrow over the tragic loss of lives and the extensive devastation caused by recent flash floods and heavy rains in Pakistan. The President conveys his condolences in a post on his official X account. On behalf of the government and the people of the Maldives, President Dr. Muiz extended heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families and all those affected by the disaster. The President affirmed that in this time of hardship, the Maldives stands in solidarity with the government and the brotherly people of Pakistan. Pakistan is currently experiencing a devastating monsoon season with flash floods and landslides causing widespread destruction, particularly in the northwest regions. Over 320 people have died in the past 48 hours due to torrential rains and flash floods, with the majority of fatalities in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Homes, roads and entire villages have been washed away, complicating rescue and relief efforts. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz ratifies the First Amendment to the Attorney General's Office Act, strengthening the legal framework governing the office. While the Constitution defines the Attorney General's Office as an independent body, it had previously operated under the Civil Service Commission. The Attorney General's Act, ratified by the President in May, formally established the office as an independent entity. However, the government in June proposed an amendment to the Act to review the duties of the Attorney General's Office, provide a clear legal framework defining the scope of duties of its legal counsel, and revise certain provisions concerning the pay framework and benefits of its employees. The amendment, submitted on behalf of the government by Member of Parliament Ali Fawad, was passed during the 24th sitting of the second session of 2025 of the 20th People's Majlis held on Tuesday, 12th August 2025. Under the amendment, the Attorney General's Office will operate under the purview of the President's authority, mandating the Attorney General to formulate a structure for the positions of the Deputy Attorney General, Secretary General and other employees and seek the approval of the President. The amendment details the responsibilities of the Attorney General's Office, the rules for the employment of lawyers and legal support service employees. The Attorney General's Office had previously emphasized the need for the amendment, which allows the President's Office to have a formal role in formulating its organizational structure. Following rectification, the amendment has been published in the Government Gazette and has now entered into effect. Maldives, in unity with a coalition of Arab and Muslim nations, condemned statements made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding his vision for a greater Israel.
The Greater Israel concept, supported by ultra-nationalist Israelis, is understood to refer to an expansionist vision that lays claim to the occupied West Bank, Gaza, parts of Lebanon, Syria, Egypt and Jordan. In a joint statement, Maldives, along with 30 Arab and Islamic foreign ministers and the Secretaries General of the League of Arab States, the OIC and the GCC, condemned the so-called vision of Greater Israel. The statement emphasizes that this rhetoric violates international law and the UN Charter, undermining the Palestinian people's inalienable rights to self-determination and to establish an independent, sovereign state on their own land based on the pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. It calls for the immediate cessation of all Israeli settlement activities, full humanitarian access to Gaza, the lifting of the blockade, and urgent measures to ensure regional peace, security and stability. Following the statement, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdullah Khalil, in a post on X, reaffirmed Maldives' steadfast support for Palestine and its commitment to a just, comprehensive and lasting peace in the region. The joint statement came a day after hundreds of people gathered in the capital Male, echoing calls for an independent state of Palestine to end the genocide in Gaza. People of all ages, carrying placards and banners to voice their support for Palestine, gathered at Mafanu turf grounds in the west of Male, called on the international community. The movement, part of the Global Summit Flotilla, campaigning to break the illegal siege on Gaza by sea, open a humanitarian corridor and end the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people, was mirrored in around 50 islands across the Maldives. For 18 months, the Maldives has consistently ranked among the most vocal nations on the Palestinian issue, especially the genocide in Gaza, issuing a substantial number of statements across international forums. The government has backed its rhetoric with policy action, actively participating in 3 legal proceedings against Israel at the International Court of Justice (ICJ), while also imposing an official ban on entry for individuals holding Israeli passports, an unprecedented move underscoring its firm stance.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Welfare provides more than 1,000 trees to 4 islands in Shaviani Atoll under the Food Security Program, aiming to strengthen food security across the country. The ministry is actively working to enhance measures against climate change-related disasters and to support sustainable food systems. The Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Mariam Maria, in a post on social media stated that local councils have been requesting the ministry to provide plans to improve food security in the atolls. The minister said the ministry's center in Hanimadu, Hadal Atoll, is providing plants to these islands. She stated as part of these efforts, a total of 1,159 plants have been delivered to 4 islands of Shaviani Atoll this month. The plants were distributed to both households and offices. Details of islands and numbers of plants sent in Shaviani Atolls are as follows: Funadu 324 trees, Lamagu 378 trees, Nardu 254 trees, Bilefahi 203 trees. The types of plants sent under the food security program include the following: breadfruit tree, water apple tree, moringa tree, yam tree. The ministry said it provided 50 breadfruit trees to Hanimadu Council earlier in June this year under similar efforts. The government has also announced plans to establish an agricultural economic zone to further enhance food security in the Maldives. Efforts are also being made to increase agricultural production to increase food security. The Ministry of Agriculture is providing technical assistance to farmers to reduce dependence on food imports and expand the Maldives agricultural sector. The Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, Dr. Abdullah Muttalib, states that the newly installed 10,000-ton water tank in Hulumale will strengthen the capital's resilience against any future water disasters. The minister made the remarks while speaking at the commissioning ceremony of the Male Water and Sewerage Company's newest water tank to increase the water storage capacity in the Male area. Increasing water service security is one of the most important objectives of MWSC. The company is working to strengthen the services provided by its water production centers in the Male area. The tank in Hulumale was installed as part of these efforts. The tank, the largest of its kind ever installed in the Maldives, was inaugurated by the Minister Muttalib alongside MWSC's Managing Director Abdul Mateen Mohammed. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister Muttalib said there were concerns over meeting the growing water demand of Hulumale's rapidly expanding population. He stressed the need for such infrastructure to ensure uninterrupted services. The minister recalled the Male water crisis and said similar disruptions can be prevented with the installation of the new tank. He expressed hopes that the tank would support future increases in water production. MWSC's Managing Director Abdul Mateen, speaking at the ceremony, praised the company's staff and said the project was completed entirely in-house. He said the newly installed tank is an important part of the efforts to increase the water storage and production capacity of the Male area. The 10,000-ton water tank installed by the MWSC at a cost of $2.25 million has increased the water storage capacity in Hulumale by 80%. Public Service Media PSM officially launches the Build, Educate, Advance, Motivate BEAM training initiative to train youth in the field of media. The training was inaugurated by the Minister of Youth, Empowerment, Information and Arts, Ibrahim Wahid. The BEAM training initiative will create opportunities for PSM employees and media workers across the country. Minister Wahid, speaking at the ceremony, said the ministry had held extensive discussions with a PSM, which revealed that there was a strong demand among young people and media professionals for such training opportunities. As part of the launch, a PSM signed agreements with the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Information and Arts, the Islamic University of Maldives, Avid College and MI College. PSM's Managing Director Ibrahim Nasreen, speaking at the ceremony, said media institutes are run across the world under the supervision of public service broadcasters. He said with the agreement signed with the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, PSM will conduct trainings to build people in this field. Nasreen further noted that the newly signed agreements will refer to PSM's agreement with the Youth Ministry and will address both the training needs of PSM as well as the wider requirements of the broadcasting sector identified by the Youth Ministry. He added these programs will ensure that training is available nationwide. Although PSM officially launched the BEAM training initiative this week, trainings have been ongoing since April this year. The initiative will provide training opportunities both in the Maldives and abroad. Leather manufacturers in India's northern Agra says they were afraid of a meltdown in the exports of shoes to the United States after President Donald Trump's new salvo of tariffs on India. Trump last week imposed an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods over New Delhi's continued purchases of Russian oil, bringing total levies on Indian exports to 50% from August, among the highest of any U.S. trading partner. The new duties could take effect by the end of the month. The tariff is a huge shock to the Indian shoe market and a leather shoe manufacturer. Himanshu, a worker at a leather shoe factory, was afraid that the industrialists might move out of the country, rendering many like him unemployed. Goods trade between the United States and India, the world's biggest and fifth largest economies respectively, was worth about $87 billion in the last fiscal year, according to Indian government estimates. Conservative former President George Tuto Quiroga concedes second place in Bolivia's presidential election, congratulating frontrunner Rodrigo Paz and calling for national unity to address the country's severe economic crisis. Former President Quiroga acknowledged the results that showed him trailing centrist candidate Rodrigo Paz of the Christian Democratic Party, who led the vote according to early official results from the Electoral Tribunal. Quiroga told supporters, quote, "We are in the second round and my first words are congratulations to Rodrigo Paz Pereira and the campaign he has run, and let's give him a round of applause," unquote. After results showed centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz Pereira leading with 32.8% of the vote, followed by right-wing former President George Tuto Quiroga at 26.4%. The October 19 runoff will likely pit Paz against Quiroga, marking the country's first ever presidential runoff in Bolivia's democratic history. The former president used his connection speech to call for national healing and framed the economic crisis as the central challenge facing the country. The results represent a stunning shift in Bolivian politics. The election marks the end of a socialist era where leftist Evo Morales dominated for nearly 20 years, with Bolivia's ruling Movement for Socialism party suffering its worst electoral defeat in a generation. The lead for Paz came as a shock to a nation that had been conditioned by weeks of opinion polls to expect that the leading right-wing contenders, Quiroga as well as businessman Semo Doria Medina, who finished third, announced he would support Paz in the runoff. Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy to Russia, tells that the US and European countries could offer Article 5-like security guarantees for Ukraine outside of NATO as part of a peace deal with Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ruled out Ukraine becoming a member of NATO. Article 5 of the alliance's charter is a mutual defense pact obliging allies to defend a member from attacks. Witkoff heralded the possible security guarantees as a major achievement from US President Trump's summit with Putin, which were widely seen as producing little movement in negotiations.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
Does it mean boots on the ground? What does it mean, but logistically?
I think part of the discussion that we're going to have on Monday throughout the day, because there's going to be breakout sessions there, is exactly the specifics of what the Ukrainians feel that they need. Because remember, as mediators, we were at this summit to advance the Ukrainian position, and we did that. And we did it successfully.
European leaders will accompany Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to meet Trump in Washington, seeking to bolster him as the president presses Ukraine to accept a quick peace deal after meeting Putin. Arsenal's Ricardo Calafiori headed home an early corner aided by a weak challenge from goalkeeper Alte Bender to earn a 1-0 victory at Manchester United in the Premier League, spoiling the hosts' season opener. Despite a cast of new faces, Mikel Arteta's visitors proved they are still lethal from set pieces, with Calafiori netting in the 13th minute. Arsenal's William Saliba backed into Turkish keeper Bender, who feebly batted the ball with one hand into the path of Italian Calafiori for an easy close-range header. It's only the second time in 18 years Arsenal have won at Old Trafford, and the first under Arteta.
Yes, because we showed it in a different way today. I think we did two things very well. One, to take the set piece and then react to especially mistakes. Some of them unnecessary, some of them unusual. But the way every single player reacted to that gives us the opportunity to win the game. If not, it's impossible. And that's about how we compete and how much we want it, as you said.
United were otherwise the better team, with close season signings Matheus Cunha, Brian Buemo missing good chances along with Patrick Dogu. The home side had Arsenal pinned back for most of the second period and kept keeper David Raya busy, forcing him into a diving save to stop Buemo's powerful header. United boss Ruben Amorim said his players must be stronger in the box after conceding the only goal of the game from a set piece. Rajan Panikar, an elderly resident of India's Pulampara village in southern Kerala, can now see the whole world through his smartphone made possible by the Digi Kerala initiative under the aegis of local self-government department of the state. Rajan, the son of 103-year-old Karunakara Panikar, was seen enjoying short-form content with his father on social media. The father-son duo is among the beneficiaries of the Digi Kerala initiative. Thiruvananthapuram District Collector and Principal Director of the local self-government department, Jeremic George, said through this initiative over 2 million citizens became a part of the digital literacy program, making Kerala the first state in India to be a digitally literate state. Volunteers enrolled with the local governing body visited homes to teach elderly residents the fundamental of using smartphones, including creating accounts on social media, accessing entertainment platforms like YouTube, and using basic features like video calls.
In a way, you could say that nearly 2 million plus citizens were actually were part of the digital literacy program, and this way we can now successfully, proudly say that Kerala is the first state in India to be a digital literate state, and this actually follows on from Kerala's achievements of being a first state to achieve 100% literacy in education. So it builds on our foundation, and we are sure that we can go into the next step as well.
The Digi Kerala reports reflect that from the household identified, 99.98% successfully completed training and passed the evaluation tests. The initiative also helped elderly villagers overcome social isolation caused by the pandemic. On August 21st, Kerala Chief Pinarayi Vijayan is set to officially declare the state as India's first digitally literate state, as per a statement released by the Public Relations Officer. However, even after achieving milestones like these, it is a rare day in India these days when there is no media report or social media post about people being duped by a digital scam. But financial and tech analysts say more needs to be done, including awareness campaigns, cybersecurity investments by banks and fintech firms, tech training for law enforcement officers, and strong data privacy and protection rules. That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.